What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And today, Ubisoft shocked gamers by announcing that their latest Assassin's Creed game, due out later this year, is going to be both 900p and 30 frames per second on both the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. And this caused quite an outrage. In fact, some PlayStation 4 owners were so outraged, they took to Twitter using the hashtag PS4NoParity to express on Twitter their desire for the game to look as good as possible on their platform of choice. And as you can imagine, a good number of Xbox One owners who may be a little bit bitter also took to that hashtag to berate those owners of PlayStation 4s, saying they don't deserve a better looking game. What makes this such an epic fail is that the folks at Ubisoft are quoted as saying, "We decided to keep parity between the two systems to avoid a debate about which system is better." Great job, guys. The senior producer for the game was quoted as saying, "We decided to lock them at the same specs to avoid all the debates and stuff." He also goes on to explain that the graphics processors in both consoles is very strong, but the CPU simply cannot handle the AI that they need it to handle with as many units on screen as they want. He clearly admits that there's a bottleneck, and anybody who understands both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One's hardware, it's fairly obvious that the bottleneck is the Xbox One. The goal of making your game look identical across all platforms is not only putting more work into the process, but also kind of stupid. And that leaves a lot of gamers scratching their head trying to figure out why they would choose to do this. Some of the more cynical tweets that I've read today have claimed that Microsoft has clearly paid off Ubisoft in exchange for creating console parity so that all games look as bad as they'll look on the Xbox One and not make the Xbox One look as outdated and as underpowered as it actually is. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the truth, and I don't believe the money has ever exchanged hands. I think the reason is actually fairly more simple and fairly more obvious. Logic would dictate that if you're creating a game for PC and Xbox One and PlayStation 4, it is probably more cost-effective and less time-consuming to target the lowest level console or lowest level platform and make sure that your game runs the best there, and then publishing that version on all other platforms. But I think we can agree that it should be a developer's job to make sure that a game looks and plays as well as humanly possible, especially if a giant company like Ubisoft has the budget to do it, and if they can make just a few small tweaks on the PlayStation 4 or the PC version to make it look better there, I believe it's the responsibility to do so. What makes this situation even more frustrating is this is not the first time this has happened with Ubisoft. They now have a history of trying to create parity across the platforms. It's the first time it's happened to the PlayStation, but this happened to the PC and the terrible port of Watch Dogs for PC, which otherwise would have been a fairly fun game. Watch Dogs not only failed to deliver on the awesome graphics they promised during E3, but in fact, many of these things were developed and simply turned off for the PC port of the game. Modders easily turned them back on, making the game look a lot more like the E3 trailer. So basically, Ubisoft has been caught with its hand in the cookie jar twice now, and in fact, one of the lead developers of one of their games has come out and said, "We simply create parity to stop the debate," and that's bad for the consumer. I just remembered, they actually also publish games on my iPad. Let's hope they don't remember that, or else they're going to make sure all the console and PC versions look as shitty as they do on my iPad as well, or otherwise, scared consumers won't buy them. So to the guys at Ubisoft, we're trying to appeal to you as fans, and let you know that we want your games to look the best they can on the platforms that we choose to play it. That goes for PC gamers, it goes for PlayStation gamers, and even most of the level-headed Xbox gamers as well. We know that console parity is not good for anybody in the industry or the industry as a whole. We don't understand why you're doing it, and we want the shit to stop. And if it's about money, let me remind you that this is affecting your sales negatively. At the end of the day, you're releasing a really great game that we're all anticipating, but you've already shot yourself in the foot and caused a lot of people to cancel their pre-orders. Because at the end of the day, we, the consumer, have all of the power, and we're asking you for what we want. And unfortunately, the way it works, if you can't give us what we want, we'll spend our money elsewhere. I hate to do that because I'm really looking forward to AC Unity. Alright guys, thanks for listening. I hope you share this video. I hope Ubisoft sees it. I love you guys. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll speak with you soon.